So here is the 2021 Newmar 4369. That is a Cummins 458.9 in it. And today, after we found that we had fuel filter issues on a road trip, I've decided to go ahead and get the rest of the maintenance moving. And so the next question is getting the oil changed on this engine. So, yep, we have the correct filter. That is this guy out, just fresh out of the wrapper. It is a Fleet Guard LF. That's like Larry Frank 9009. Or the Cummins number is 3401544. I did find an auto parts place that would cross-reference a Wix filter. It was $105, and this filter I got off of Amazon, if you can believe it, brand new, $38 for one. $38. I think I paid $64 through Fleet Pride last time I bought one of these. So he's ready to go. There is our oil filter, our oil change bin right there, and I think that will carry something close to the 7 gallons, and if not, probably need another spare gallon can. I think we're up under the Cummins 450 on the Spartan K2 chassis, and yep, you can pretty well see. So you're looking at a oil filter tucked right up against the side of the block, shrouded by a bunch of pipes, wires, hoses, and so that's going to be some fun to get out because the filter wrench handles don't want to fit up inside there, to my memory. So we'll go ahead and get started on that. And my first thing to do when I get ready is I see if the filter can actually be brought loose. And if not, the project ends until I find the right filter wrench or the right clearance. My approach is to go ahead and leave the coach on its airbags, and then I come behind that and I put up the hydraulic leg. And if I do get it on it, I make it tap it up on there with a hammer. Alright, so you can see we've got her loose. There she is. Right here up against the side of the engine. I'd say clean up everything you can get a hold of. I didn't bother spraying degreaser in here. Just trying to get enough off of it that I could get at it. There it is, loose and ready to go. So right now I'm going to go ahead and start looking at the oil drain plug. So typically I'll go make sure this thing is loose first. Once that's the case, then I'll go work on the oil. Alright, there's your oil drain plug. And if I remember right, that's a 3/8 inch socket stub end right there. And so we'll take a socket to it and see if we get it loose. Okay. We're going to take out this 3/8 and we're going to get that on the drain plug and just make sure it's loose. And once that is confirmed, then the project really can go forward. This is what I use. I think this is going to be about enough. Alright, let's get her on into place, and then we'll go ahead and I've already heated up the engine, so we should. Wow, that had about 80 or 90 foot-pounds on it. Okay, she's loose. That was an immense amount of torque. I'm really surprised at that. Well, there she goes. Hopefully you're getting a good view of that. find out how much she can take the hard way. That's a lot of oil. Yeah, it's getting full. We'll get over on the other side with another pan and lower the oil filter, and that is usually because what's going to happen is the oil filter is going to be hard to balance and thread down through all the cables that are in the way. And so that's where you start getting spillage. And so I'll have a pan under it, and I'll have this tub close by as well. But that next piece is getting that filter off and the new filter threaded up, and probably fill that filter with oil, or largely fill it with oil before we put it on. But yeah, we're gonna get this, the entire capacity of the actual oil pan is gonna fit in this tub. So I'm gonna let that sit and dribble. Right, there's our new filter. Get that out of the way. And I did happen to have the new T5 1030 that we're going in with. That's a synthetic blend. That's what we are spec'd by Spartan. And there's all kinds of debates about the right viscosity on Cummins, but I think the synthetic blend T5 is kind of a trade-off for Rotelli. It's a trade-off between cost and effectiveness. I think it's the sweet spot. The T6 probably more expensive. And then 1030, you've seen 1540. There's all kinds of people with theories about what to put in, but the spec that I'm hearing direct from Spartan and Cummins is 10W30 T5. So there it is. So now we're just going to take a little bit of that oil right there and just dress that gasket. Try to keep my finger reasonably clean as we dip into that new oil. Get that all the way around. Alright, that's fully set up. Fleet guard, it's ready to go. We've got the gasket dressed, so now everything's ready pretty much to be threaded up. Now I'm going to put as much of that Rotelli as I can get into it. Before I put it on. But I don't want to fill it to the max because you're juggling it upside down. So I would be thoughtful about trying to trade off between filling it all the way and working. The best way to get your oil into the engine, here's your oil input, engine oil, right? It's right there. All right, we're going to be putting in 1030. That's a Rotelli T5. I will label something, maybe right here, that says when the oil was changed. But most important here is that there is a unique funnel. I don't have it with me. It is a great big giant volume funnel that's red and short, and it'll take a lot of volume out of a large gallon container of oil. So we're going to pause this piece of the work and say that's not going to happen right now. Let's finish getting the oil filter and the oil plug back in, and then we'll put a warning on the door that says don't start the engine, and then I'll have to be back with that. Next major step is going to be removal of that filter. There he sits. I have the sense that these things were on the block when it was painted. Why do I say that? Because the fuel filter on the back of the engine, the fuel water separator, was painted red. And here you have this oil filter. It's normally white, painted red. And you just get this sense, it's the same color as the engine. And so I'm gonna say that that's how this all gets put together. So these are original. So it is darn tootin' time they got out. And so let's see if we can get that oil filter off without a catastrophe of oil pouring everywhere. And I'm gonna put my little pan, not my big tub, but my little flat, got a little flat pan here. There he is. All right, so that pan is what we're going to use kind of for the state as we can get it. All right, so now what we've got to do, get this off. And we've got to do so without a toxic waste dump. So I'm gonna get it as far as I can get it before it has to be tilted. And it's very close right now, and then it's going to have to be eased out of there, so that's going to take 2 hands. All right, here's the delicate part. The filter is unthreaded, it's loose, and now we need to kind of thread it out without tilting it too far. All right, that's going to go to 2 hands. I just wanted you guys to see it kind of get backed out. These are hard to get out without making a huge mess, and so we've been lucky. All right, guys, what's the next step? Well, you know, there's our little cap of oil that we use to lubricate the seal. That seal is ready. There. Now we need to fill it with oil. If you take a good look at the side of these Cummins filters, step 1 at the top is you're lubing the seal. That's that rubber seal around the top of these big-mouthed Cummins filters. Step 2 is you're filling the filter with oil. All right. Now step 3 is you're going to wind it up onto the threads until you reach contact with the seal. And then step 4, you see, is now you go beyond contact with the seal 3/4 of a turn. That's it. Fairly straightforward. And we're gonna have to tap that oil filter wrench onto this guy to get it on and try to get that 3/4 of a turn. So this is gonna be a little tedious. But first we've got to fill it with oil. All right, we've already done step 1 according to the instructions here. And so that is lubricate that seal on the top. Step 2 is put the oil in the filter. Let's get that done. I'm gonna guess that's 2 quarts. That's about what was in this can. Sorry, in this gallon. We're gonna let that settle. And then we have to kind of work it back up under the bus and then get it threaded up. And this is always a messy, and of course the filter can be slick. All right, I think that's about where we stop, which is right at the, oh, just for the audio, I'll get a little closer. Yeah, we stopped right at about the mouth of the threads. I'm not gonna go any more because I'm gonna have to juggle that and it might make a mess. So let's just try to keep it, you know, 3/4 to 7/8 full, and then we'll, all right, right up there. You see we're gonna have to tilt in and then kind of straighten out and get it lined up on the threads, and then see if we can get it threaded up while holding it up in the air. Haha, that's gonna be lots of fun. All right, let's get to it. You're gonna miss this while I try to get it balanced. All right, here's our last step. We've got to get all of that 10W30 Rotella T5 oil into the oil reservoir. And so that's what this little old funnel is here. Normally I would do this with a great big red funnel so it doesn't spill, but we're just kind of taking our time and dribbling it in with this little funnel. There's the Rotella T5. You can see 10W30. That is what every one of these cans has in it, and we will get one more in, and then we're going to give it up for tonight and get the bigger funnel. So yep, let's get that in. We'll be adding it right here into that funnel, and I'm just going to go ahead and do that with 2 hands so y'all can see. All right guys, here's my favorite funnel. Look at that. Flow tool makes a giant quick fill funnel. This is the way to go, because you're able to get a lot of volume into the filler, and again, the angle of the neck becomes the limiting factor. But yeah, well, we found that the filler neck is a little bit too horizontal, so I'm probably going to have to use this funnel here. I did nip off the bottom. Let's check her oil level. We've got the stick in all the way. Let's bring her out. I'm going to try to do this with one hand, and there we are. And if you can see the stick, it's upside down, but it shows you full, and we are right on the edge of full with that beautiful fresh clean oil. And so we are at 7 gallons of oil, so 28 quarts. And we added 2 quarts in the filter before we put. All right, let's just do a quick recap. We have removed the oil filter and replaced the oil filter with it full of 10W30. And we've then cinched it up at 3/4 of a turn beyond contact. So that's ready. Now we've also removed the oil drain plug on the oil pan, and we've drained all of the oil out after heating up the engine. That's done, and we put a pretty good set of torque on the oil drain plug with a 3/8 inch ratchet head. All right, third, we've gone and filled all of the oil and closed the cap, so that's ready, and we have 7 gallons of oil into the oil filler tube, and we had about 2 quarts into the oil filter before we mounted the filter. Then we came back and we checked the oil. Our oil stick shows we're right at the proper level, and so that was done cold. I'm going to have to check that to be sure we did it right. So let's go ahead and start. Let's go ahead and get her started. All right, idle at 500. Let's boost that up with the fast idle cruise control. All right, there she comes. Now we're at fast idle. Let's go check the engine and the oil filter and the... All right, there's your engine running. All good here. Let's get underneath and see. There's the oil filter. Looks like no runs, drips, or errors. Then we have the oil drain plug. Good. So stay tuned for our next project, but for now,